Now, WJC's Purple Playbook brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome into Purple Playbook. I'm Alex Glaze, joined as always by two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith. Well, draft is over. We know what this rookie class is going to look like. 11 picks signed by Baltimore. What do you think about this class?
I think they did a great job. You know, it's one of those classes where Baltimore definitely had value and they filled some needs. So I'm happy with what they were able to accomplish. Anytime you're able to focus on giving 8 more options and protecting him, that's always a beautiful sight to me.
Absolutely. Well, addressing the trenches was one of the focal points of this draft heading into it. And, of course, they did that in the first round, drafting Venga Ioane out of Penn State, one of the top-rated interior linemen in this draft class. And then in the second round, going out and getting Zion Young, an edge rusher from Missouri who's going to have an impact there. And then they go back-to-back picks with receiver, giving Lamar Jackson some weapons, potentially giving us some insight into what this new offense will look like under Declan Doyle. But in all, 11 guys are coming to Baltimore, and Jesse Minter likes what he sees in this rookie class.
Tough, physical. You know, a lot of these guys are big physical players. When you look at the O-line, obviously you start with Venga and just like him setting the tone for the draft class, dominant line of scrimmage, and so I think we added the best interior offensive lineman in the draft. So I just think you go all the way down the list. It's a really physical group, big, strong, tough, physical team that we're trying to have here, and all these guys fit that bill.
Jesse said something very interesting to me, Torrey. Venga set the tone for this class. That's his first draft pick as head coach of this Ravens. What does that tell you about the kind of guys that he's going to be bringing to Baltimore throughout his tenure?
Man, when you talk about the Baltimore Ravens and how they go about their process, you hear them all the time say, this guy's a Raven. Well, it's not just because of the name of the team. There's a standard in how they expect these guys to play, physically, mentally, emotionally, and how they expect them to engage and conduct themselves on and off the field. So when you see a guy like Venga, to me, is like, he reminds you personality-wise of like a Haloti Ngata type, literally physically, right, how huge he is, how he plays the game, and the way he goes about his business. You add another pro to the room. I don't like to say that there's a such thing as a sure thing at a pick, but this is a guy who I think when you talk about all the guys in the draft, yes, it was full of talent, but he's one of those guys where you're like, hey, he's going to be here for a long time and play at an extremely high level. So, I mean, I think when you talk about setting the tone, that's everything he's talking about.
A plug-and-play starter, which is what they needed at the guard position. Also a guy that comes in and plays with a chip on his shoulder, plays with an edge, and plays with a nasty attitude, right? That's the thing that kind of stood out to me when I was just talking to him. And also a guy that takes pride in keeping his quarterbacks clean. Didn't give up a sack in his last 2 years at Penn State. Music to Lamar Jackson's ears, considering all of the struggles that the Ravens' offensive line was having last year. Just how do you think that this offensive line is going to come together? Because I think now the big question is, what are they going to do at center? Still some question marks, but in all, what do you think about the makeup of the offensive line right now?
Well, I think when you talk about even last year, it had holes, right? It was more so inconsistent. Because there was times where this unit played very well. And then there's other times where, is this a high school squad, right? That's the way it felt. But that was just simply being inconsistent. You lose a few guys. I think when you lose a Pro Bowl starter, at center, we can't act like that's a major loss. You do lose a guard there.
2-year starter.
A couple-year starter, right? That's a big deal to lose a starter. It's a big deal to lose a starter. However, that's a starter that you feel like can be replaced. So I think you're going to look at the opportunity to find somebody in free agency, a veteran that's out here. Now they don't count as against your comp picks in the future. So this is the time where you're starting to see some of those veteran guys start to get signed. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a trade.
What about Corey Bullock, your Turk? He spent a couple years learning from Linderbaum.
Yep.
He knows, what Lamar. He's worked with Lamar.
Yep.
I mean, this is a guy. I think he's being overlooked a little bit.
I think so. I mean, I'm all good. I mean, history shows that you need a Terp for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. So I'm all for bringing in Terps to help fill out the roster. But again, I think there's a plan in place, right? There's conversations that we don't know where GMs are talking to guys ahead of time. Like, don't be surprised in the next week or so you see a veteran magically come in. Well, if you're my agent, you're representing me, you're saying, hey, after the draft, because there's a list of veterans who know they aren't getting signed early. And now it's late. They know, hey, it's not going to happen. This week's going to happen after this time period. That time period after that deadline, after the draft, is now here. So now they've been told, hey, we have this deal for you. Well, I'm going to wait if it's the Baltimore Ravens who are going to offer me that deal versus going to the Cleveland Browns, respectfully, right? Like that, those are the decisions and conversations that are being made. So there's going to be some veteran guys to come in and complete the room.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the receivers that were picked up here. I know these are two of your favorite picks from this draft class, two guys that you know very well. Let's start with Jacoby Lane. This is a guy that you've known since high school. I think we got a picture of you guys, from back in the day as well. You know, you talk about a guy, I mean, you just look at this picture right here. I mean, he's going to go up and get it. 6'3", long, big hands, 10.5-inch hands. What do you think the Ravens are getting in Jacoby Lane?
Man, he's talking catch radius, right? There are a lot of people out here who don't understand how great of a receiver that Zay Flowers is, and they like to discriminate against him because of his height and size. But the reality of it is you have Zay Flowers and what he's able to do as a 2-time Pro Bowler here now, and you add a guy that's always open, right? Lamar doesn't have to be perfect. Lamar can just give him a shot. His catch radius is ridiculous. I've seen him make some of the best catches since high school, right? Like his ball skills were absolutely crazy. His ability to track the ball down the field. These are all things that help you out as a quarterback. Talk about being quarterback friendly. There's multiple ways to do it, but the number one way to do it is to be a guy that's always open and has a huge catch radius.
Yeah, big body. And then Elijah Surratt, another guy that's coming in, bigger body, national champion, transferred a couple times, spent some times in different programs, but had success everywhere he went. I'm really interested because I feel like he could almost be like the steal of this draft because it's surprising to me that he was around till the 4th round when you look at the production that he has. Just kind of why do you think he was still around in the 4th round?
Talking about a guy that was an All-American as a junior, right? And shout out to the Surratt family. Obviously, they're from Virginia.
A St. Francis kid, too.
Same area where I'm from, so I've known him since he was a youngin'. And for him to have the opportunity to be around that long, it's because people were judging his speed. But what they don't understand is he ran a solid time, but game speed is better than time speed because there are plenty of players out here who run a 4.3, 4.4, and they don't play like it. And I think for Elijah, he plays fast, but more important than that, he's not a finesse receiver. He's a big body receiver, and he understands how to play the game that way. So I think they're both going to have an opportunity to give this unit flexibility because of their skills. And the number one thing being if the ball's near them, it's theirs. What's his name? Waffle House, right?
Yeah, Waffle House.
Always open, so it's a beautiful thing to have to add to the room.
And really quick, another wrinkle for this as well, what's the area where the Ravens really struggled last year? Red zone.
Red zone.
You look at those picture rolls we just had up. These are jump balls, 50-50 balls.
You don't have to be perfect.
These are guys that go up and get it and will give you an opportunity.
Absolutely,
to
and people don't understand it. They think of red zone and they think you can't scheme everything. Sometimes it has to be my guy is better than you. Yep. And I think they did a great job adding 2 of those guys to the room.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this rookie class and get Torrey's thoughts on what this Declan Doyle offense could look like and how these rookies could play a role. You're watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The Winning Prognosis, brought to you by LifeBridge Health. Care bravely.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, is this Adam?
Yeah, it is.
Adam, this is Steve Bisciotti. I'm the owner of the Ravens.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm good friends with your coach, Dabo. And
Yes, sir.
My GM, this is the first call I've ever done because my GM and I negotiated something this year for the first time, and that was that I was going to get a pick that I get to pick by myself. So I started working with Dabo a little while ago, and he told me that you are the highest character player he's ever had in his program.
Yes, sir.
Wow. I mean, high praise from Dabo, from Steve Bisciotti. What a moment for Adam Randall getting that call from the owner of the team.
That's big time. And Adam Randall is, I believe, talk about great character. I had the opportunity to coach him at the Under Armour All-American game. Great kid. But when your head coach says that, it's like, no pressure. The owner's picking you. I think it's really cool that, they decided to let Steve be a part of that process. I think some people from the outside are overthinking what that means. I mean, he's picking from a board that's been established from the scouts. Like, let's not make it seem like he's picking a rabbit out of a hat as a choice.
Well, hold on, because we were told that Steve did his own research and was working with Eric DeCosta's son, and they kind of collaborated.
They did their research, but he didn't come pick Torrey Smith off the couch out here in Baltimore, okay? Like, he did his research in terms of where they are. Notice he wasn't picking.
Finding a day 3 guy, that's the scout's day.
Yeah, absolutely. So, there's work that was put in on it, and I think he is a great weapon. Why? He's a guy that truly played a receiver. When I had the opportunity to coach him in high school, he's a 5-star receiver. Right now you're talking about a guy that has the ability to, he's only played receiver up until that point. Now he's converted at Clemson into a true running back. What Declan is going to be able to do with him in that offense is going to be ridiculous, because that's a Swiss Army knife that this team hasn't had in a while.
Yeah, Eric DeCosta called him a jack, same kind of thing. To me, can you see kind of like a role that maybe, I don't even know if it exists in the league right now, like almost like a Kyle Hamilton, we're talking about like a chess piece on defense, where this guy is coming out, I believe, like 6'2", 6'3", like a big body guy.
Huge.
He could line up anywhere and kind of create that mismatch, almost like not a Taysom Hill, but a guy that could line up and do multiple things for you and cause problems.
And it causes problems because at the running back position, you typically have the worst defender on the field guarding you. When you're in the slot, they can create packages where there's the nickel or the outside linebacker, like the corner that comes in there, the extra defensive back. When you're the running back that you actually can run the ball, they have to account for you that way with still a big body linebacker in the middle of the field. So it's one of those situations where defensive coordinators are going to have to be creative, because now you're playing man-to-man with him. They can find ways to isolate him on the outside, and that's a true receiver that just happens to be huge and can play running back.
We're talking about this draft class here. Of course, we touched on Jacoby Lane, Elijah Surratt, but they also went out and got Matthew Hibner, Adam Randall. They went out and they got pieces for this offense. Did you get any kind of hint or indication of what this offense could look like under Declan Doyle, given the direction of these picks?
Oh man, I think they were need picks. I felt like the team needed more receivers. I felt like the team needed another option.
Different kind of receivers too.
Right, yeah, the different flavors. I tell people all the time, everyone likes to get caught up in the number one receiver, these titles, this and that. You have Zay Flowers. He's a guy that you can move around as a gadget-type receiver as well. But you need bigger body guys to be able to help make that go. You also have Rashad Bateman, who is a very good receiver. I'm going to continue to stay on this hill and remind everybody
I'm
that
a Bateman truther. I'm with you.
is a very good receiver. And you have to mix it in there. Don't fall in love with the numbers. Fall in love with the wins. And what I mean by that is, I've been a part of 2 Super Bowl teams. Neither team had a 1,000-yard receiver. However, you had receivers that had production and had the ability to make the plays when the team needed them. And that's what this team has done. No one has to be a hero, except for probably Zay, because his target share will say that. But the reality of it is, offensively, they'll have plenty of options. And by the way, we're talking about these receivers. Derrick Henry is still on this team. He's still going to run the ball. He's still fast. He's still huge. And he's still playing at a very high level right now.
And you forgot to mention one name. We're talking about hero, Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. He's also a guy, if the social media videos are any indication, he's a guy that's been in Baltimore. He's been out there. He's working. And it kind of is not being talked about, I think, right now.
No one's giving him his credit. I'm not gonna lie. You put me on blast when you're saying Lamar's not gonna be there.
But he's
been there. He's been very present, and I love that. But I also feel like, from the media side of things, if Lamar is gonna be there, and he's going to be present like he has been, even if he pops in and out, he should get the same type of respect to show that, hey, he is committed by everyone else's terms on the outside. By the way, I'm going to continue to say, I don't think just because you show up, it says you're the most committed thing in the world, period. Like, you can be better and not be away. One thing has nothing to do with the other. But I do believe it helps, especially with all this newness that's a part of the organization.
Does that tell you about where things can be when we get to training camp, right? Because if he's here now, you have to assume he's going to be here for OTAs, mandatory camp, obviously. But just, it sounds like, the goal was to hit the ground running come training camp. It sounds like everything's going to be on track to do that.
Absolutely. As a person who didn't have the luxury of missing off-season workouts, because if I had a bonus, I was collecting that. I need that, all right? So when it comes to the bonus and being there, you're going to be able to get ahead with your offense. there are going to be certain things that you're going to be able to experience. You're going to be able to say, what is the base? What do we do very well? What's our base offense, and how do we grow off it? And that's the thing that you kind of iron out those wrinkles, because there's going to be some plays that are in there, and Lamar's like, I'm not seeing this play very well. I don't really like it. That's going to be something that's more so on the back burner. But you're able to get that process out of the way early instead of focusing on mandatory minicamp and rolling into the real thing.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are talking about Calais Campbell. He is back in Baltimore, getting ready for his 19th season in the NFL. I'm going to get Torrey's thoughts, and we're playing Something or Nothing when Purple Playbook continues.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. The Bottom Line, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook. It's time for Something or Nothing. I'm going to throw out a topic to Torrey. Torrey, you're going to tell me if it's something or nothing. Big news. We get to the end of the week. Calais Campbell reportedly signing with the Ravens on a one-year deal, coming back to Baltimore, getting ready for his 19th season in the NFL. Is that something or nothing, Calais making his return to Baltimore?
It's a huge something, because there are some players that are at year 19. There's a guy that we know very well here in Baltimore by the name of Joe Flacco that's going to begin his 19th season. Joe's a quarterback. This is a defensive lineman. So the fact that he's able to function at this high of a level is crazy. He would have been one of the sack leaders had he been on his team last year. An amazing leader, great guy. He's a person that I leaned on coming out as a rookie, working out with him, coming on out, having great conversations with him. I had the opportunity to play, retire, live a whole separate life. He came in before me and is still going. So he's an absolute animal. I'm excited for him to have the opportunity to be back in Baltimore.
It also tells me just the culture that Jesse Minter's trying to set, right? I mean, we talk about Anthony Weaver, a guy who obviously knows what it takes to be a Raven as a former player and coach here. But to bring a guy like Calais Campbell, a true vet, especially on that side of the ball, that tells me that he's trying to establish something a little bit deeper than maybe what has been there in the past.
Absolutely. I mean, leadership matters. It really does. Every team I've been on that was successful had strong leaders. And I don't think there's a situation where you can have too many of them. And this team right now, it's not a want. It's a need that they have guys like that in the building.
And 6.5 sacks last year, so he can still also play at a pretty high level as well. All right, so now we have to talk about another defensive lineman, Nnamdi Madubuike, back in the building, according to Eric DeCosta, in the Ravens offseason program. I'm going to let you go first. Is that something or nothing?
There's a whole lot of something. I'm excited for him. The fact that he has the opportunity to be out there, that's something typically as a player, when you hear that someone messes up their neck, you automatically go to the worst, right? Because safety matters first, and typically there's something that, guys normally don't have the opportunity to come back from. So the fact that he's out there and he's active and he's working, I'm excited that he has the opportunity to continue to chase his dream, and hopefully everything clears out that he can make it on through when it comes to contact and everything else.
Yeah, I'm going to stay where I've been at with this. A little bit of both. Something, but also until we see that contact, until he gets cleared, respectfully. But it's definitely, it gives you something, makes you feel something, right? I think that you can see the response online from Ravens fans. They're excited. They're feeling that juice. So I can only imagine the guys in the building, because they know what Nnamdi brings to the table as well when he's able to be out there.
Right, and even if it's just for his health, right? I think this is one of the situations, whenever you hear about neck injuries in football, it's like, man, forget the guy putting the cleats on. Like, this is a man whose future and his life and the lifestyle could potentially change at any moment. So I'm just grateful that he's in a situation health-wise to even be fit and active. And again, we'll see what happens. I'll say there's something, because it wasn't something I expected. But at the same time, it could end up being a whole lot of nothing.
On the mental side too, for him, it's got to be like to even get this far, because I'd imagine like there's so many mental hurdles to even get to this point, going through that injury, having your season derailed in week 2, to even get back now to the point where you are able to work and have the opportunity to even come back. I think it's incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I've been there from the element of a concussion, but a concussion is like typically, at least for me, I was able to bounce back from it. When it's your neck, it requires time. It requires multiple scans, the stress of it, right? There are certain things that they can potentially eliminate from you, right? I think we've seen this here in Baltimore even as recently as Zach Orr. right? People
Sure.
forget that before Zach Orr was a coach, he was a Pro Bowl caliber player, all-pro type of player. And just like that, one play, the game is done. So, again, it's a major blessing that he's back on the field.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break and wrap up the show when we come back. You're watching Purple Playbook.
This is the Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank. Now, WJZ's Purple Playbook, brought to you by M&T Bank.
And welcome back to Purple Playbook as we wrap up the show, wrap up kind of this conversation around the draft and look forward to rookie camp, OTAs, and training camp. Got to get your thoughts on just the draft in general, if you had a favorite pick outside of the Ravens.
Yeah, my favorite pick was actually in the third round, I believe it was, with Zach Branch.
Okay.
He played at Georgia, undersized receiver, but I feel like he wasn't used up to his full potential.
Speedy guy.
Speed, hands, quick, strong. He's kind of like a Tyreek Hill type guy. But I'm excited to see what he can do there. I think it's really cool to play for your college team for a year because he was at USC. But he transferred to Georgia and then get drafted by the Falcons. I think that's a really cool story.
As someone who worked in Atlanta for 4 years, I can also tell you that's not something the Falcons do. They don't usually draft Georgia guys. For whatever reason, that just doesn't really connect. I thought you were going to go with another receiver. I thought you were going to say Cardinal Tate, giving Cam Ward a
I like
weapon out
Cardinal Tate, another guy I had the opportunity to compete against with our Level 82 stuff. And Makai Lemon, another guy.
You're old, man.
We were on his highlight tape.
You're just old. You're going to be like, oh, I remember you when you were.
Level 82 was on his highlight tape. So literally all the guys drafted as a receiver in the top 7, I've seen them all since high school.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, well, that's going to do it for this week's Purple Playbook. For two-time Super Bowl champion Torrey Smith, I'm Alex Glaze. We do this show every week, and we're going to be back next week talking rookie mini camp. See you then.